Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to the Language and Culture Fest 2021. Joining us today is a great colleague who I've had the privilege to work with. I have the honor to present Ms. Magdalena Marines and her talk, The Feminine Reciprocal Light. Let me tell you more about her work. Maria Magdalena Marines Cruz was born and raised in the city of Pachuca, state of Hidalgo, Mexico. Early memories from her childhood tell several anecdotes about the influence from her father's artistic inclination towards the Latin American trova music movement from the 70s. As an immigrant to the US, she became unexpectedly immersed into the poetic approach to words by one of her most inspiring teachers at J. Sterling Morton East High School, Cicero, Illinois. It was then, 1990, where she first learned from iconic authors such as Robert Frost, Walt Whitman, Maya Angelou, Emily Bronte, among others. The reading and writing class in her junior year was more than another class. Instead, the experience was instrumental in knowing, and without knowing, it served as stepping stones for her yet to discover a way with words. She was awarded by the National Library of Poetry for her published work in 1995. Her language teaching career began at the Autonomous University of Hidalgo State, UAEH. She holds a Master of Arts in TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language, by the University of Jaén, Spain. Maria Magdalena is currently an instructor of English of adult learners at the Department of Faculty Development at the UIH. So please welcome Ms. Magdalena Marines.
Thank you for that introduction. Thank you very much. Well, first and foremost, I would like to thank those people on the other side of the screen, especially those people close to my heart, and everybody else. Thank you for being here. For me, it's very important to be here. And let me tell you something. I have always believed that the message is far much important than the messenger. So, and that is why I'm here, to have this opportunity with all of you speakers of a language, not only English. And so I want to say thank you. And I want to say thank you to the Language Center, especially to the organizing committee for this invitation. I was flattered and I was honored to receive this invitation. Thank you. Well, so let's begin right into business. As you see, worldwide news are really staggering, right? Especially if you're a mother, a sister, a friend, or any role that you have in your life. I think the numbers are staggering regarding women, regarding violence against women. And we know that in so many ways, this violence not only is physical. We have heard time after time about the importance of this issue and the importance of this public worldwide health problem. As a mother myself, I am very worried, concerned, and active. That is one of the reasons I am here, because I am a mother. And so my intention for this is that we can open some thoughts so that we can have a mindset open and willing to listen. If we explore the numbers a little bit as of today, you know, the current figures about the violence against women, and why not to say against men as well. If we go and search for some of the numbers are really staggering and outrageous. I just heard a few days ago in the news that 55 women die in the US alone. And that makes you stop and wonder how many women are suffering right now because of these aggressions and these different forms of aggression. And I want to say also to men, because it seems like the balance is lean more towards women, but no, men are also, victims of any form of violence. So for me, the numbers are staggering and are really outrageous. If you really stop and think and wonder or search a little bit in the internet or the medium that you prefer to be informed about, you will be staggered by exploring the Latin American numbers of violence against men, women, and children. So, okay, those are the numbers. And we know we cannot change the numbers, can we? Do you think, Vero, that can we change the numbers?
Well, I don't think so.
Exactly. The numbers cannot be changed. The statistic is the statistics, and the figures are there for us to are there for us to explore ourselves and question ourselves the way in which we are living in these times, in these pandemic times, in this back to normal times. So my invitation for you in this presentation is that we cannot change the numbers. That is a fact. But guess what? Maybe, and just maybe, we can change our attitude within the home, within the classrooms, within the streets, within anywhere in which social, human, collective communities um, gather together to learn, to, to have a concert, to have any kind of social, reciprocal gathering. So let's keep the numbers there, and let's keep the statistics there. But also my invitation for you is to come with me, follow me, and let's try to explore the language that we can use in this way of as a feminine, as a masculine, or whoever you may be, right? How can we just maybe change our attitude by two things? My two of my elements in this approach will be, on the one hand, photography, yes, and on the other hand, poetry. So maybe, and just maybe we can do something about it. All right. You see, Vero, as I was preparing this presentation, I inspired myself by the model by Krashu in 92. He calls this model the concentric circles. You can find this article for those of you teaching English or teaching any other language. You can find this article in the English Teaching Forum, volume 52, number 2, year 2014, if you want to find out more. And even though this is not my emphasis on the talk, I was inspired by the circles, right? Because as you can see in the image, we have an inner circle where that is your most important community, your collective, right? An outer circle, this community extends a little bit far beyond in the expanding circle. This model only relates to the importance of English around the world. And if you read the article, you will find more details about it. But my inspiration came from this model because I was thinking on these concentric circles in my own life. And then I thought, well, my inner circle holds the people close to my heart, those really close to me. Those are friends and any other people that we dearly love in our hearts, right? And then the next concentric circle, extends out of my inner circle. And then again, for acquaintances or for other type of people you may to encounter in your life as you go every day, right? And then the public, the general, those strangers, let's call it, right? So I want you to, Vero, I'd like you to picture this type of metaphor in your mind, Vero. Think of those people close to you. Picture them in your mind and put them in this inner circle.
All
All
right.
right? You got it?
Yep.
Try to think at least of 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
5 people. In a moment, you will tell me their names. And then extend the outer circle, the next concentric circle, to your friends. Put some names there, please. Continue and extend the concentric circles to acquaintances. And then finally, think of those people that probably once you met in your last trip to Cancun and you found and you smiled at them, or you kind of made unexpected empathy with them, right? People that you will never see again, but they were there for some reason. Now, can you please tell me how many men are in your inner circle? Give me the number.
Oh my gosh. 0.
Oh, okay. And what about how many women?
4.
4 women.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue with the next circle. How many women?
Oh gosh, like 10,
And
around
what
10,
about men?
like 2.
Okay. And then so forth and so on. The idea here is that not only the close friends matter. If I were to ask you which of those people are most important, then of the obvious response would be my close people. But you know what? Everybody matters. And this is the point. Yes, Vero?
Yes, they do.
Everybody matters.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you why everybody matters. Just like in the model by Karashu, that he states that wherever you happen to live in the world, your English, depending on the country where you live, matters. And so he first coined the term Englishes. So all of those Englishes matter, no, regardless of the country where you live. Just the same as here. Everybody matters, not only your inner circle. And not only men, but women and everybody else who forms your life and who's part of your life and who influences your life. Without any of them in your life would not be complete. I mean, even if we lost someone from any of these circles, you might miss their presence and you might miss what they gave you. So everybody matters. And this is the problem. This is the problematic situation. When we start thinking, Vero, that only people in their inner circle matters, that's where the problematic thing begins. Would you have an idea why?
No, not really.
Because we
Why?
become selfish.
Mm.
Only my group, the
Mm-hmm.
people who look like me, the people who talk like me, the people who think like me, matters,
Of
right?
course. Yeah, they do.
And that's where the problematic begins. So my invitation for you this time is to be willing to lean towards perception. We will see if we reach perception. So let's imagine right now that all of those circles become one. What is one phenomenon in nature, right, that makes the circles disappear and become one? Let me show you what is that phenomenon. That phenomenon is called a ripple effect. Your inner circle is this drop, represents this single drop. That is your inner circle. That's where your people dear to your heart belongs and resides. This inner circle, at the moment that hits the water, creates outer concentric circles. You got it?
All right.
Right?
Yep.
So by your effect and the phenomenon, the natural phenomena that one single drop of water representing your inner circle, this circle in yourself expand continuously, or one over and over again. So expanding other circles. Like, have you ever seen the rain? That is one example. When you see the rain falling, you see the drops, the raindrops falling and forming this phenomenon, which is called the ripple effect phenomenon. There you have the circles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Everybody matters, not only my inner circle. Everybody in the outer circles form concentric circles. And at the same time, everybody is affected by everybody. That's it. Exactly. As I mentioned, this is called the ripple effect. One small change can have an enormous impact. One small change. So let's see what that change could be. Okay, as you see, this is another visual representation about having one person in the middle with their inner and most important people around, but also affecting, because we are part of the collective. And sometimes our perceptions are this big. And my invitation for you is to open up your conception to the rest of others, even if they don't look like you or talk like you or think like you. We are all affected by everyone around. And my approach and invitation to you and the audience out there would be to step into two groups here. And by these, I'm not meaning to divide us, but also to unite us. But the truth of the matter is that sometimes we are divided. That is reality. And wayseer and establisher is one way in which we can start thinking about uniting and changing our mindset, right? Because as I was saying in the beginning, we cannot change the numbers, but we can change the mindset from my inner circle out in a way, or in an effort to form concentric circles that they touch. Whatever you do, they touch. It's a natural phenomenon. It's just like thinking we have to coexist. It's not only my people who look like me and talk like me. Wayseer Wayseer and establisher was a term that came out to be a few years ago, about 10 years ago. But actually, the approach is quite old. It's from the 60s, when the civil rights movements in the US became to be, by the Negro, the African American people being oppressed by the white, right? So wayseer and establisher is the contemporary views that we can use nowadays. And so let me tell you who first started this. The name is there, is Gareth John. And you can read the book and you can find more about it, how wayseers and establishers have to coexist and allow those outer circles and those concentric circles touch each other, no matter what. So that is one of my suggestions, that you find a little bit more about the wayseers movement, which counts by the millions. Let me tell you, by the way, it's millions of young minds that are already following this movement, which is really enlightening, as you can see. All right. To become a wayseer or establisher requires perception. And my intention would be to ask you, Vero, what do you understand by perception?
I think it's something that we, in other words, or sorry for this redundancy, perceive from all the senses.
You got it. You just nailed it. Great. Because one basic elements for us to touch, those territories, those boundaries about perception is our senses. Exactly, Vera. You just got it. Perception. Let me show you about one formal definition about perception would be this, by the Cambridge Dictionary, and it says someone's ability to notice and understand things that are not obvious to other people, right? A very serious definition, don't you think? So we have this ability, and this ability it should not be taken for granted, but you know what? It should be developed, because even though it says someone's ability, and then I said, maybe not. Maybe not everybody's abilities, but someone's abilities that we can develop. So probably you may stop and wonder, how then can we develop perception? What do you think? How can we develop perception?
Well, there are many ways. One way could be through practicing yoga.
Do you practice yoga?
Kind of.
Okay, I think it's a valid response.
Yep.
Any other idea?
I well, in my case, I usually read about this Buddhism philosophy.
Exactly. So no matter where the approach that you particularly are interested in choosing and develop your ability of perception, you are 50% close and 50% successful. You know why? Because we have senses. We have those senses, the sense of sight, the sense of smell, the sense of touch, and so on and so forth. But there's one specific sense that I am sure that you have heard before, is the sixth sense, right?
Yeah,
Have you
of
heard?
course. Yeah.
So it's not only in the natural world to perceive the sunlight, to perceive the rain in your face, to perceive, I don't know, the air, the fresh oxygen produced by the ocean when you are on the beach or when you go for hiking in the forest. But it's to go beyond, Vera. Is to go beyond in this perception. And let me show you which kind of people can go beyond, and that we can learn from a lot. So I hope you follow me, and that you are able to open up yourself and be willing to change a little bit your mindset by these two approaches. One of them is for photography, and the other one is poetry, or vice versa, poetry and photography. Let me tell you why these people in particular, they teach us how to develop this ability of perception and go beyond the five senses, the common human five senses, and that how can we become able to develop and go beyond for the sixth sense, right? Are you ready to find out?
I am.
All right. Okay. As you can see, one of those approaches is photography. And in photography, I'm going to skip this one here. Yes. So nowadays, everybody has a cell phone, right? And we like take pictures like crazy, right? Don't you think?
Yeah.
We just take a picture of this and that and
Mhm.
whatever, right? But those professional photographers, did you know that they wait for hours and hours to take the perfect shot?
Mhm.
They spend their lifetimes if
Yes.
it's required.
Yeah,
One
they
of the
do.
photographers I'm going to talk to you about spent 3 months in the Antarctica to take the perfect shot. 3 months
Wow.
by herself. Well, in contemplative photography, which is the kind of photography I am talking about, professional experts are willing to take what it takes, time and effort, to take the perfect shot. Because in contemplative photography, especially that kind of photography, not just any type of photography, let me find my notes, and they say, practicing contemplative photography helps me to slow down, pay closer attention, and see what's really happening. It allows me to space and to notice my perception and judgments. Then I can ask myself, what am I missing? And this is the question. What am I missing? in this perception, right? Because whenever you take this picture, especially this picture on the ground, right, where you see a cracked floor or a cracked round, and then you see the flower, immediately, if you're developing your perception, this single shot has a whole lot of story as a background, don't you think?
Yeah, I do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is through our senses that we can develop perception in a very serious way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so sorry to go back, but I need to show you this. Remember we were speaking about wayseers and establishers? Uh, in very simple language also, even if you're looking at the definition here, a wayseer is being part of the solution. Establisher, not exactly being part of the problem, but people who only follow the rules and the norms, and is always, in that way, no matter what. So obedience and to be establisher and to follow the rules might not always be an assurance of doing something right. Remember back in times when Hitler took over his power, he demanded many soldiers to go and kill people. Remember that part of history?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
So
teacher.
being obedient and being part of the establisher might not always bring happiness to your life, because some people say that if I do this, if I follow this, if I do what the establishment asks me, I will be happy. Well, think again. It might not be a very good way to think that happiness is also, or is the only way to follow the orders, to follow the rules. Sometimes we have to step out of there, step out of the box, right? So wayseers are going to be willing to risk themselves and to show courage for a cause that is larger than their own obedience, that is larger than their own lives. Yes, a wayseer gives everything he or she has without waiting for anything back, because that person, a wayseer, thinks of the collective. It doesn't think of himself or herself selfishly, right? I'm going to use now a term coined by one of my favorite poets, which is called William Blake. And he's going to show us how perception matters, how everything and everybody matters, and how the best, how we can open the doors of perception. Yes?
Okay, all right.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, this gentleman you see here is called William Blake. And he was an 18th century poet. And he wrote something once called specifically The Doors of Perception, where he says, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. Take a moment to explore the quote again. It's only a quote, part of the poem, right? What do you think he meant by the doors of perception?
The mindset.
The mindset, even a little bit larger than that. Of course, we begin by our minds because most of the human beings are rational, and that is a good thing. But you see, from time to time, we have to step out of there and step into the realities of wayseers so that we can contribute, not only selfishly, but for the collective, right? And he meant to open up your hearts, not only your mind, your hearts, your heart, and your soul. Another key word here is man. When you read this, just let me do an experiment with you here. When you read this and then you say, oh yes, sure, man are like that. They never open up their doors of perception. If you are judgmental, and some of us read things and perceive things in a judgmental way, don't you agree?
All right. Okay,
Yes,
yeah, I do.
but at the same time, this quote is not only for man. for men. Is in a way, if we analyze the discourse here, is speaking to you, not exactly as a masculine, right? Or such man or such men, is speaking to you, whoever you are, right? And this is a way of remembering ourselves that language from poets and language from photography, especially contemplative photography, is going to allow us to open up those doors of perception. That this quote is not only for them, is not only for you, but is also for me, is for the collective. So poetry, in an effort to explore photography and become and make of poetry, I'm sorry, a delight in your life. Uh, in the blink of an eye, you will see that you're opening, probably without knowing, your very doors of perception to go beyond what you're reading. Another key word in this quote is the word infinite. What do you think about the importance of this word in the quote?
Mm, it's really interesting because, it reminds me of another quote that is that says we have to live in the present, and also, but also we don't have to worry about the future, and we have to let the past go, right? So I don't know if it's when I see infinite, I think it's similar.
In a way, yes. In a way, yes, because you are talking about time, exactly, in a very abstract way. In a very abstract way, exactly, time and time dimension, time and space at the same time, right? Yes, I think it reaches, it touches the abstract of the concept of infinite. Um, Let me tell you something. Please don't get me wrong if I say this, but many of William Blake's contemporaries used to call him insane. And you know why? Because whenever he presented his very work, his own work, to his contemporaries back in the 18th century, he claimed to be in God's presence all the time. That's why they declare him insane, you see?
Mm-hmm.
Because most of us are rational. If I don't see it, I don't believe it, you see, right?
Yeah, of course.
The endless delusion. He was able, and if you read his biography, he was able to put this all together in his website. I highly recommend it to you, his website. He was able to put this all together because of that divine superior presence in his life. But he was claimed to be an insane kind of guy. All right. This is a little bit of the whole manuscript from the 18th century. And also, let me add that William Blake uh, um, did not happen to be only poet, but he was also a visual artist. Look at that. So for every work that he wrote, he came up with this, visual imagery, this visual painting, reflecting what was in his heart and soul and mind, to have a representation of this perception, of this doors of perceptions, and to this doors of infinite. The whole stanza reads like this: if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. For man has closed himself up till he sees all things through narrow chinks of his cavern. Chinks, rendijas, right? We close ourselves up because they don't talk like me, because they don't look like me, because they don't agree with me, right? So we close ourselves up. But on the contrary, if we open, if the doors of perception were cleansed, and by that, he means work on yourself. Open your doors of perception by cleansing your thoughts, by cleansing your body, by cleansing your environment where you live. And then and only then you will see things as they are, infinite. for you, for me, for everybody else. Don't you think this is really mind-blowing?
A lot. A lot,
Wow,
miss. A lot.
exactly.
Yeah.
I highly recommend to you and to the audience to take a look at poetry and to work on your own perception through William Blake's work. And this is the whole manuscript. Look at that, the beauty, right? The art, the imagery, the detail, the love, and the great humanity. Because he wrote he writes for you, for me, no matter who you are. He knows he was part of the collective, not only closing himself up. Exactly. If you want to follow his work, go to blakearchive.org, where you are going to be able to find much more delicious imagery like this one, and be blown away by his power of language and his great approach to develop perception beyond the establishment. I present you now Camille Seaman, as you can see, photographer, of course. I had the privilege of being her interpreter back in 2011 when she first came to the FINI festival. I was chosen to be one of her interpreters, and I promised myself that I will never do it again. Yes, because you
Wow.
see, because that is not my professional training. I am not an interpreter. I'm just a teacher of foreign language, English. But because of my colleague, she backed me up so many times. She got me off the hook, this colleague of mine, and that's why I made it. If it hadn't been for her, I would have been a total disaster. And this is Camille Seaman. You can also find her in her website, camilleseaman.com. She came to the FINI UAH in 2011, and we had a blast, especially those people who heard from her. Real del Monte School of Arts, she offered a workshop in light and shadow. She showed the kids and the boys and girls up there how to take pictures with opening those doors of perception that William Blake was talking about, right? It was one of the most delightful, challenging, and insightful experiences that I have had in this institution as a teacher and as an individual, hearing from Camille Seaman. And let me show you. Remember, I was telling you that a photographer, a contemplative photographer such as Camille, is willing to spend and is willing to do what it takes to have the perfect shot of one picture. Remember? Well, she spent 3 months or so taking the perfect shot of the perfect iceberg in the Antarctica by herself. Can you imagine yourself doing this?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, it would be interesting.
She tells you the whole story. She tells you the anecdote. If you go back and browse again a little bit on her website, you will be surprised of how she tells you in a poetic way, even the narration and the details about this anecdote, taking pictures of the perfect light and shadow icebergs. She was awarded by the National Geographic, of course, by this work, which if I'm not mistaken, the work was called Melting Away. That is the masterpiece pictures that won the National Geographic Award in 2006, I think was this award. And so let me tell you what she says about icebergs, but also what she says about perception. As an artist, connection is very important to me. Through my work, I am trying to articulate that humans are not separate from nature and that everything is connected. When I saw my first icebergs, I was in awe. My heart beat fast. My head was dizzy, trying to comprehend what it was that stood in front of me. The icebergs around me were almost 200 feet of the water, and I could not help but wonder that this was one snowflake on top of another, on top of another. She was waiting not only to have the perfect shot, but she was there opening the doors of perception to tell you a story behind the iceberg. And then she continues and she uses the word humans, not men and women. She uses humans. This is happening. I wish you could be here with me in the Antarctica and see for yourselves. But I'm taking the perfect picture so that you open your doors of perception. I know time is running, almost finishing. I also would like to recommend Akien Kramarik, that is a poet and a visual artist. And she tells you this fabulous story behind her work, The Light. Take a peek, a very, very quick peek about what she says from her painting through the words in poetry. Look at that. Please pay attention to the bold words that I am highlighting. Our world, right here, our world, not my world, but our world. Our life, right? But without any of us, not without me or without you, us is the key element. Our eternal path, we need to wait for others. Infinite, remember from William Blake, infinite possibilities. And again, waits for us always. Akien Kramarik can be your very good teacher, not only of language, but also of perception, of understanding how I think, how I speak, how I help, how I teach, how I live, right? Well, this is a very quick peek of her work. And if you allow me just a few more minutes, please, I would like to show you something I wrote back, and this will be the end of the presentation, something I wrote back in 2017. And just let me read it. Probably I have a few more seconds to comment about it. She evokes a reciprocal light. Acquainted with my own inspiration, I have nothing but to gather myself, attracted to the most perfect alignment my eyes have ever beheld. As if in a harmonious galaxy, the bright clean moon placed itself next to it, a visible crystal clear twinkle star, forming the perfect ellipse around it, touching one another. To form a spiral galaxy of intertwined clouds sliding up in the night sky, the bright clear moon knows itself she cannot be the center in the universe, but rather the magnet reflecting what is the never-ending story of electromagnetic forces that embrace us all, every night and day. You may think, yeah, it sounds really inspiring. Oh yes, so nice. The moon and the stars and the galaxies. But you see, the very bottom question here is this, Vero. Please tell me, whom does the moon receive her light from? I repeat the question again. Who does the moon receive her light from? If you're there with me, still there, hello? I'm sure
Sorry,
the
Miss. I'm just
yes.
checking some technical things in your
I'm sorry.
presentation. Don't
This
you
is the
worry.
last question. This is the last question. Can I repeat the question?
All right.
Okay, listen up.
All right.
Who does the moon receive her light from?
Very good question.
I
From
repeat again. Yes. Who does the moon receive her light, bright light from?
from itself.
It's a reciprocal light, Vero.
Exactly.
It's a reciprocal light. She knows she's not the center. She receives lights from the sun, right? And this reciprocal light that she shines is because she was given. She's not by herself independent in the solar system. She's a dependent part of the collective, just like you and me. So the reciprocal light that we receive is not just because of me. It's because I am a mother, I am a daughter, I am a sister, I am a friend. My last thought to the audience is to eliminate the inner circle. Don't kill it. Eliminate it in a way that you do not become selfish and egotistical. And think about the collective. The most important role that we have nowadays and in the future generations for our children is to be human beings. That will be my last thought. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Miss Male Marines. It was a pleasure to have you here.
The pleasure was all mine, really. I know that time flies
Yeah, a lot.
when you're having fun. Yes.
No, I did. Of course I did. And you know, there are things that obviously caught my attention, and they are very important, especially because of the time that we are living right now. But I'm just going
Right.
to mention some of them. For example, you said step out of the box through
Mhm.
photography and poetry. I think it's a wonderful quote. Thank you so much, teacher Magdalena Marines. I'm just going, because of the time, you know that we are like a little bit tight with the
Mhm.
schedule, but I'm just going to assign only one question from the participants.
Sure, I
Uh,
would love to.
all right, thank you so much. So any participant who wants to make a question to Miss Male Marines, please raise your hand. All right. All right. I have a question for you, Miss Male
Sure,
Marine.
please go ahead.
Thank you so much. But how do you practice any other philosophy from apart from this, the use of this contemplative photography and poetry? Have you considered any other practice or any other philosophy? I
Mm.
mean, the way you see life is different from many people, and I really like that you said that it is important not being that selfish, right? It is important that we open up ourselves to
Mhm.
others. That's the most
Yes.
important thing. So that is my question, teacher.
Thank you for the question, Vero. Yes, I will try to answer in the best possible summary that I can. Yes, the question is yes, I do practice something else apart from language teaching, poetry writing, and photography. I am a fan of photography as well. Not professionally speaking, but yes, I take the time and look and feel and try to feel what the other was feeling at the moment of taking the pictures. Probably because of my very profound experience with Camille Seaman, I think she gave me something else to think about and something else to look at. But yes, let me tell you two things. I used to practice quantum meditation back in, I don't know, I think it was 20,000, probably 2003. I joined a group here in the city. Someone invited me to practice this type of meditation, but then I realized it was not that. I only lasted 9 months and then I just got out. I probably took, I said thank you, but thanks, but no thanks, because it was not for me. Even if I step back from that practice, I believe I took the best that could leave me as a life lesson. And then throughout my life, I think one of the most important ways of not only meditating, but acting, becoming an agent of action. Yes, I think I have to say, believing in the Most High, believing in the Almighty, powerful God, and believing that we are created and that we are connected and that we gain more by being together under that powerful almighty power that we have above us. I think is what holds my life nowadays. And that is what allows me to, if I fall, to put myself back into my feet, into my 2 feet, and becoming the person I am becoming, and continuing to become and to empower my children, to empower my students, to empower myself through this opening doors of perception, and through these, the importance that photography and that poetry and that everybody else, even my scientific students, which I really admire, nowadays they bring me. So I am part of the collective. I like to go beyond my inner circle.
Thank you so much for those insights, Ms. Marines. I think it was a pleasure for me to listen to you giving
Thank you.
this talk. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you for all the participants. So enjoy all the events that we offer in this Language and Culture Fest. Thank you so much, Ms. Marines. Would you like to add anything else?
Yes, thank you so much again. The pleasure was all mine. Um, my sincerely thanks once again to the organizing committee. It was a pleasure for me to collaborate and to participate. My last thought for you, those out there, students, teachers, mothers, fathers, daughters, sisters, friends, let's empower each other, not by having retaliation and vengeance and vengeance. That is not in your hands. What is in your hands is to empower your children at home, educate them well. The direction is not to protest with violence. Violence is not counteracted with violence. Violence is counteracted with peaceful manifestations. So don't remember that, and also don't remember that we are, the most important role that we have in our lives is that of being a human being. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marines, and thank you all the participants here for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.